So perfect. Again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for our Illinois LGBTQ Business Spring Roundtable. I'm excited now for us to transition to this next session, our keynote session, discussing LGBTBE Certification and Inclusion. To kick off the session, I'm excited to have with us City of Chicago Alderman Andre Vasquez. We were very fortunate last year to get to meet the alderman, and then he was very, without hesitation, our biggest supporter in being able to push the resolution along last year that required the City of Chicago to create a study to determine its engagement and opportunities to support and develop LGBTQ-owned businesses. And so we're still waiting to find out next steps on what that looks like, but we'll be sure to keep everyone informed. But we know that we could not have been able to do that without the support of Alderman Andre Vasquez. And so we're very thankful for that. And so Alderman, thank you so much for joining us. And so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jeremy, and thank you all for the invitation. It is really great seeing you all. It is slightly surreal now that we're like a little bit past COVID and there is a want to see everybody in person, but I'm really glad that we can be here for have the conversation. So yeah, initially, and you know, we've talked about this before, when that survey was first being introduced or the resolution was being introduced, I thought it was going to be a matter of process. And I think we saw, and I should have been more aware of really what the challenges were going to be and the pushback we were going to hear in trying to get that passed, but thankfully we did. So that led to the survey, which is going to take about a year, but like with a lot of other things, COVID really threw everything off. And when it's something where you're putting a survey out and you want to get the most information and data possible so that you can really make the case and justify the case that you absolutely need to make sure that there's carve outs in space, the same way you do for women and minority owned business for LGBTQ businesses. We wanted to make sure we had accurate data so that way it's not throwing off what we know to be true. So once COVID came, we then talked to BACP, the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, to kind of get a timeline. And I think they were still kind of wrapping their heads around it as well. So I've got a feeling that although there was some movement during COVID, I would not be surprised if we heard that, oh, now that things are opening up more, let's give it a little more time to find out what those answers are. So I think, one, we want to follow up with the administration to kind of see where that's going. But we also should be having the conversations about how to be intentional and make sure that we provide support and programs to do the things we want to do anyway, right? The survey is something that we're using for justification for things that we already know we need to do. And so what we've thankfully, because of my position in government and things we can do on the ground as city council members, we can be more intentional in making sure that we're not only inclusive, but we're promoting the kind of diversity and people who, through all different identities, and that our business owners can set up shop. So something that we've been doing in the 40th Ward, and to give some background, the 40th Ward is from Clark to the river, so about Kedzie area, and then from Lawrence to Devon, roughly. So we've started work in creating a Lincoln Avenue North, so that's from Western to Catalpa, to create an arts district as well. And what we've been doing is we created first the A&Z Arts Plaza, which is a public space to kind of start putting the picture, an idea out there for neighbors. But we've partnered so far with the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce to establish regular tours in the area to make sure that we're intentional about really different folks coming in to set up stores and filling up the storefronts. And so we want to find other ways to partner, like with LGBTQ chamber and with other chambers, to kind of establish the same pattern and practice. Because what we know is it's one thing to say you're supportive of different groups, it's another to be extremely intentional and to actually get things moving. And so I definitely want to make sure that as things go forward, that we extend the invite and plan a date to kind of get that going as well for this chamber. But really, what I'd like to hear, as this conversation progresses, is what the experience has been for the community and for the businesses during COVID and what we can do to help. So I am really thankful to be here and look forward to the conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Alderman. Again, I appreciate your support and glad that you were able to join us here today. With that great welcome and introduction, I'm excited to move forward with today's keynote conversation discussing LGBT business enterprise certification and inclusion. Super thankful to all these folks who have decided to share their time and share their stories. Remember, as we talked about earlier today, it's those personal stories that are those tools that allow us to influence our elected officials in making decisions. And so I'm excited that we get to hear those stories today, as well as hearing from our partners about the work that we do and our collective partnership in moving LGBTQ businesses forward. And so I'll save my introductions, but because I know we'll get a chance to meet all of them here in just a moment. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll turn it over now to Timmy to take it away from here.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for what's been a really cool day up to this point. And also thank you to Alderman Vasquez on those remarks. It's good to see you. So welcome everybody to today's Business Roundtable panel on the LGBT business enterprise inclusion. My name is Timmy Knutson. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm an attorney in venture capital. I chair the City Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm a very proud board member of the LGBTQ Chamber of Illinois. I'm very excited to host this panel. As we know, LGBTQ plus business owners are leaders in various industries that move Chicago and Illinois forward. Today, we are going to hear from Roxanna Daniels, Jackie Richter, Vince Williams, and John Lashmett, talking about certification and why government inclusion matters. Each of these individuals are business owners and leaders in the Chicago area. With that, I'm going to stop talking and hand it over to our panelists for introductions. Vince, can you start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Timmy. Hello, everyone out there. So sorry that we weren't able to meet in person, but glad that the LGBT Chamber has invited us out to participate in this business roundtable. As Timmy mentioned, my name is Vince Williams. I'm the president and CEO of the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council. We are a 51 or 54-year-old, year young, I'm going to say, organization that certifies minority-owned businesses, those that identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, or Native American. We then in turn advocate, help develop, and then connect these businesses to our strategic partners, organizations, government municipalities that have intentionally looking to provide supplier diversity in those that they procure services and products from. So again, excited to participate in today's roundtable discussion and looking forward to participating on the panel. Thanks, Timmy.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Vince. I'm going to hop to an intro by Jackie, hopefully. And Jackie, just so you know, your video, there you are. Great. Oh, you're muted though. There we go.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jackie Richter. I own Heels and Hard Hats and Endurance Contracting. We're a utility contractor in the energy industry. We're certified, obviously, by NGLCC. We value that certification, and we want to really bring the message of the importance of that certification and what it can do to uplift your business today. I think that kind of sums it up quick.
That's perfect, and we'll be back to you pretty quickly. So Roxanna, if you could give a quick introduction.
That mute button is amazing, isn't it? Hey guys, I'm Roxanna Daniels of TAJ Development Company, Inc. We are a general contracting company stationed in Chicago, looking to do business in the southern part of the world. And we are certified MBE, WBE, DBE. And we are most definitely loving our certification with Mr. Vince's office as a minority certified business, as well as a LGBTQ certified business. Excited about today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roxanna. And last but not least, John Lashmett.
Hi, my name is John, and I am one of the principal owners of iCandee Marketing in Chicago. We have just celebrated our 10th anniversary, and we have been a certified LGBT business for those 10 years. iCandee specializes in branded media, also known as promotional products, advertising specialties, branded corporate apparel for meetings and events. That's it.
Okay, that's great. We'll get right into it. And just so everyone knows, we did a little bit of prep as a group. So some of these are targeted questions, but we'll then open it for conversation. And of course, feel free to chime in at any point you have something you want to ask or say, and we'll do questions at the end. So to start, I'm hoping that John and Vince can give us a bit of a back to basics rundown on the LGBTBE certification, explaining how it differs between private and governmental contracting.
Absolutely. I'll let you go into that, John.
No, I was going to let you go.
We'll tag team it in. Well, I'll start off with, the Chicago MSDC and our certification process essentially has been the gold standard for certification across all levels. And what we do is seek to partner strategically and intentionally with organizations like NGLCC, the WBDC, and the Veterans Organization, as well as disadvantaged businesses. What we've found is that these certifications, again, will provide entrepreneurs, particularly those that have had a hard time with being marginalized on receiving contracts, to get monies that have been set aside for them to take advantage of some of the opportunities by some of these government and private organizations. So we see certification really as being an added bonus, if you will, to some of the services that you provide, your professional development, and then just ways of separating yourself from some of the others. I'm sure that Roxanna will be able to attest to some of the opportunities that have been presented to her by being certified with Chicago MSDC, and then some of the others that are in the audience probably are in roles where they are procurement officers or buyers that are looking to particularly work with those that have been identified. Again, what we're hoping to disclose in today's roundtable discussion is the fact that just because you are certified does not mean that you're going to receive that particular product or service that you're going for, that you're bidding for. What it is, though, is it's another way for an organization that's looking to do business with you to actually end up confirming that you are a true, viable business with the professional development, the acumen to do business with them. I think many of us in our respective industries can understand what it's like to want to have a certain level of service that we receive from those that we procure services from. And so that's what we hope to attain by providing development opportunities, advocacy opportunities. And thank you for your work, Alderman Vasquez, for this incredible, I think, path that we're on to seeing some true change in really what's happening here throughout the state of Illinois. So kudos to you and the others that are really advocating for many of the entrepreneurs there. But again, what we want to happen with you seeking this certification status is for us to be, I saw that, Jackie, you put in the NGLCC, yeah. And again, keeping these businesses front of mind, but knowing again that what we're doing is trying to provide the necessary resources for you to sustain and seek additional opportunities going forward. Again, I just want to reiterate that just because you have that certification doesn't mean that you'll receive certain goods or services or procure those bigger contracts. But what it does is it confirms you, again, as a business entity that has sought that certification, but also knows your business in and out and through and through. And what we know as entrepreneurs is that sometimes you may be very well skilled at your craft, meaning building or producing a trinket or providing a service, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you may know the day-to-day operations and things there. And that's what these certification processes really confirm for you. And we help you with that, provide those resources and technical assistance, and then again, connect you with those opportunities so that you can scale and grow.
To further, one thing that I would say is that certification, MBE certification, WBE certification, or LGBT certification, it is, again, as Vince says, no guarantee of success. In fact, one of the best ways, the best explanations I'd ever heard in supplier diversity was from Vince's predecessor. And she said in a meeting a few years ago that the only certification just provides you a license to hunt. No guarantees, but at least you have proven that you are who you say you are and that you are capable of doing what you say you can do. That is what certification serves. The difference is, the LGBT certification is different in that we cross all races, genders in our certification process. The other organizations are race or gender based. We are, and the NGLCC is very strict about certifying their LGBT businesses. It's not being certified in LGBT business, I would say, is not for the faint of heart, because everything that you have ever thought about will be examined so that they are able and in confidence certify that you are who you say you are.
And John, yeah, no, that's great. And on that note, how challenging is it to get certified?
It is as challenging to become a certified LGBT business as it is to become an MBE business, a WBE business, a veteran business. They are thorough. They are thorough because these public organizations and private organizations or private companies depend on these third-party certifications to remove the risk. So they are really, really thorough.
Yeah, if I can add on to that, John, you really have to look at it, to me, as being an opportunity. We know that there's many nefarious characters out there, and some will try to assume this minority certification, and in some cases will try to assume, again, the LGBT certification, the women certification, as well as the veteran-owned certifications, so that they can take advantage of some of the opportunities that have presented themselves for or have been earmarked for those certified businesses. And so with that, we want to make sure, and we do a very, very thorough process, site visits included, looking through K-1s, tax returns, to confirm that your business is, again, 51% owned and operated, daily operations, by someone of the minority certification. That has translated down to, again, our brother and sister organizations like the NGLCC and WBDC, because duplicating that or taking our certification and using that as a catalyst, if you will, for confirmations, and then applying that to NGLCC to move forward with it.
Okay, that's really informative. And I want to ask you both one question before then we're going to get right to Jackie and Roxanna to hear some experiences on their end. How should people on the call who aren't familiar with the certification view the difference in what it does for you right now when it comes to private contracting versus governmental contracting? I know a lot of people on the call may know this, but for those who don't, it might be important.
Yeah, sure. So really, again, and I think John attested to this a little earlier, these organizations that intentionally are reaching out and seeking those that are currently certified, meaning that they've been vetted and they know that that this organization, this government entity and this private entity in essence, can count what dollars they are spending for either the tax return, or in some cases now where legislation is changing that is saying, we want to see a report on your intentionality of working with these businesses, with these diverse businesses that exist. We want to know, and we want that to be proven. There's so many opportunities, and you see what's happening here in Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois. And then many businesses having to pivot or identify new customers during this pandemic. And what certification has done for them in some cases, in many cases here with the MBEs, is that it's increased their sustainability and their growth. They've secured more contracts because these private entities, as well as local municipalities and government entities, have had to source locally now, as opposed to going, externally or outside of the state, because the pandemic kind of shut a lot of things down. With that, it was just a great way for us to, again, identify different ways of incorporating supplier diversity. The Chicago MSDC was founded here in Chicago after the civil unrest of the Democratic National Convention in 1968. What happened was a group of business owners, white business owners, got together and said, hey, we got to do better. We have to incorporate supplier diversity into what it is that we do. 53 years later, we still experience that same type of marginalization and systemic racism, if you will, in addition to civil unrest in the summer of 2020, in the heart of the pandemic. What happened then is more of these organizations now are saying, why have we not done better, right? And now we're seeing elected officials and advocates come together to say, let's make it mandatory. Let's make it where now we can measure, we can see some of these disparities and this marginalization of what's happening. In essence, let's control the narrative. Let's control the work that we're doing. Just as we intentionally want to work with those that are in the LGBT community and support, let's do the same thing for supplier diversity throughout. And I think that, our other two panelists, Roxanna and Jaxie will both be able to provide more detail into what those experiences are like on both of their respective sides. And then John, of course, speaking on the NGLCC side, and really what that has contributed to his business, again, is how we create an ecosystem so that we can all work together.
Great.
I have one more thing to say
Sure.
before we go to, so to follow up with Vince here, the LGBT community, because it is not a federally recognized minority in this country as of yet, what we have with public organizations and private organizations recognizing or accepting or reaching out to the LGBT certified business community is those organizations are following the spirit of being diverse and inclusive, because there are no laws that require them to do so. And for all organizations that you see that say, yes, please participate to the LGBT business community, please participate, please register, they are going above and beyond what is required. And that is something that needs to be recognized, because they don't have to do it.
Yep. Okay. Okay, great. And Alderman, I see your hand up. I'm going to go, don't get mad at me. I'm going to go to our two other panelists and then circle back to you. I want to hear, and I want everyone to hear a bit of the experiences that Roxanna and Jackie have had with their certifications and how it's helped them overcome barriers in getting business. So go right ahead, Roxanna and Jackie.
Let Roxanne go first.
Well, that is so sweet of you. I'm going to say that as Vincent said, the benefit for me in the certification is what it allows me to do at having a seat at the table. I don't think that at this juncture, because the certification is so new and it's not a mandatory certification, and there's no benefit in terms of utilizing that certification where we are in Chicago at present, it hasn't afforded me work in that aspect. However, what it has done that I didn't have, it was the first certification we got. And I must tell you, it was not easy. And I've been me my whole life. And I had to prove that, as I had to prove that I was Black and a female. And so, but most importantly, you have to prove that you run your own business, right? And you're not a front for anyone. But what it has done is given me a marketability in an area, especially in corporate America, not so much municipalities. So I want us to be very clear on how I don't want to falsify anything. And Alderman, I want to say you are a champion because you have championed this cause. So whatever I can do to help in anything that you have on the table, always know that my phone is open to you. But it has afforded me the ability to sit at the table with people like Toyota, Barella, and to get my name recognized so that I'm marketable to these people when things move forward. What it does is, coupled with my minority and women-owned and disadvantaged-owned and my set-aside and my Section 3, it affords me the ability to walk into a room and say, okay, what can I do to make your bottom line better, right? By being able to do that. Now, I do have to kind of piggyback a little bit on John. It doesn't say I can do the job, right? It says that I have the ability to come in and run the business. Now, if I mess the job up, it's not the certification that suffers, it's my business that suffers. So I think I just have to say that the best part of this certification is the ability, because gay folks, and y'all excuse me, but gay boys especially is good at corporate America, right? So that's the ability, and that's the fun part for me, is that I get to be and mingle and be a part of that environment in a way that I normally would not be without this certification.
Awesome. Thank you, Roxanna. And Jackie, go right ahead. We'd like to hear from you.
Well, I actually, before Roxanne started, I wanted to bring up that corporate partners. That's
Jackie, you might be frozen. Unless it's
actually,
there you are. If you freeze up, Jackie, maybe try turning your camera off just to save some of the Wi-Fi.
what Roxanne said is really critical here, that it is our corporate partners that provide us the largest support right off the bat. So it doesn't reflect so much on the governmental values. One of the crucial things I do want to say, and we do have multiple certifications at both businesses, but I started Endurance, it was strictly NGLCC, and it was our corporate partners that really sprung our success forward with ComEd Exelon and Nicor Southern. Oddly, we push for them to accept NGLCC so we can create our own market, so to speak. When we get active and push for corporate people to belong, that was kind of my hidden agenda long ago, was to get these utility companies that I deal with from other certifications to take on NGLCC. I'm no spring chicken, and I enjoy what I do, and my biggest value in my day-to-day existence is uplifting others and helping other businesses grow, and partnering with other firms and having fun with it. I'm so blessed for what we've done with NGLCC as a community. And, now we're looking at the city of Chicago. There's other cities in Illinois that are really looking hard at NGLCC, and it's about the education that we provide, that gets us the acceptance we need. When people understand that, being different, we face these adversities and hardships, and, this isn't a hall pass for, entitlement. It gives us an opportunity to get to a table where, people will give us equal opportunity, something as simple as dignity and respect, in our personal lives as well as our business. And that's what our LGBT community has to continue to strive for. And my last short bit is the importance of, like successful businesses that everybody that's on this call can help. We're a tier 1 contractor, for instance, and deal directly with the clients, and we should pass our opportunities south to, the businesses where, we can buy promotional items. We buy printing supplies through another, like, just make it easy on myself, lesbians. We need to uplift each other all the way. And if we carry that support down, I think, we're going to grow and succeed. Diversity isn't just a sign on the door, it's a way of doing business, and it's the business we want to cultivate. That's about, my best input for today.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to take something you said and ask a follow-up question, but you said that it's not a hall pass. And I've heard that sentiment from our other panelists as well. Bare bones question, but are there any differences in standards of work for an LGBTBE or other business enterprise recognized contractor?
Well, no, I mean, you're a contractor, you're expected to go to work. And, one of the things that when we got involved in this, and, there's a foundation of business ethics that I live by, and especially in construction and more so in utilities, and it's safety, quality, and commitment. When you have those deliverables and you go into that first meeting and that is your focal point on what you're going to bring to them, that's what comes back to you in return. When we come in there and say, we want to bring value to this. We're not expecting, a crazy check or you to run pass-throughs. At both my businesses, we discourage that. We want to be legitimate. We want to bring value to this, not just to our company, but to our people, so we can, again, uplift them. This is all about getting women involved in the construction industry and training and mentoring. And we can't do that without it being our passion. And we expect that, we get corporate mentoring from our utility companies and, some of our corporate partners at tier 2 level. And we want to pass that on all the way down our food chain. In as much as we buy diverse, we are diverse. Our workforce, I always laugh about it. I kind of call it like Noah's Ark, and that's what we want. I faced that disparity of getting a job because I was different. And, LGBT people, it doesn't matter the color of our skin, the religion, our gender, we're different people. And that's why we face disparity. And that's why this certification is real. NGLCC, it was the hardest of all of them. I've done IDOT, I've done CMS. We've been through the one in California and WeBank, and I just recently did WeBank for endurance, but NGLCC was the toughest of them all. So I think that firmly describes the value and commitment of NGLCC to bring a legitimate group of people together that have faced disparity, and they're certified that we're certified in disparity. We're certified desperate, because of our challenges.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to add something to that. The way for any diverse company to be successful is to have paying contracts. I mean, like somehow everybody seems to think that because we're a diverse business, and I mean LGBT, I mean WBE, I mean MBE. They seem to think because we're a diverse organization, we're somehow less. We're not less, we're the same. And the only difference is that we get marginalized, or we get put off, or we get our heads patted and say, shut up and go sit and do something else. That's the only thing that differentiates a diverse owned business from a non-diverse owned business. And the way we diverse businesses become successful are by, I need paying clients. I need orders every day. I need clients paying every day. And then I too can be successful. However, I, along with Jackie and Roxanna, also remember how it was. And so we don't get that far afield of our communities. But for somebody to imply that a diverse company is less than is absolutely insulting. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah. And what happens when they don't accept, I'll give you an example. iCandee has been in business for 10 years. I would hazard to guess that only 35 to 40% of our current client base, which include Fortune 500 companies nationwide, know that we are LGBTBE certified, even though that information is clearly on our website, on our business cards, etc. And so when we see, or when iCandee, and iCandee has only an LGBT certification, we do not qualify for MBE or WBE. When I see pushback on accepting LGBT certification, we're already there. We're already doing this business. I looked this morning before I got on this call, and iCandee alone, Tier 1, Tier 2, with the city of Chicago and Cook County, over $50,000, $60,000 worth of business. So the city and the county, by just not even allowing LGBT certification, are missing all kinds of credit for, we're already there. And I would hazard to guess the moment the city or the county accepts LGBT certification, they're going to find out that there's a lot of us there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, John. And one question before I know we're going to go a little bit over, so we're okay on time. I want to ask one question before I open it up to the alderman, who I think has a question. Roxanna spoke really impactfully on our call about further intersectionality and how that could be beneficial for contractors. So I was wondering, Roxanna, if you could speak on that a bit.
Well, the thing that we spoke about is that I've been in construction since 1977, and I have fought several things, and we talked openly, and I want to be very transparent here, because the first thing that you see when you see me, you see a Black person, right? So that has always been a major hurdle, and then you see somebody that I always get is yes sir, no sir, you know, and then they notice something else, the boobies, and they say, oh, that's a woman. So now they say, okay, it's a Black woman that's dyke. And so I've been afforded the benefit and the opportunity to have challenges on several different levels in business in general, not just in construction, although construction, and Jackie can verify this, is brutal for the LGBT community. It's especially in the Black community, Vincent. It's very, very brutal when you are in a business that is already male dominated, right? And it's hard for Black folks to get in it already. And then you come in, and Black men especially are having an issue with getting into this business or doing business in this playground. And so now you're at the table, you're fighting a battle with Black men, white men, and then you're fighting a battle with white women. You know, you come in and you're fighting a battle with Polish and Mexicans, and you're at the table. In my instance, I'm at the table with so many diverse groups that the battle is always small battles, but the war is so huge. And I think for me, the diverse part and the benefit of this certification has been that it does separate me at the table, right? So I come to a table that's a business that's inundated with DBEs, WBEs, and MBEs. However, in the state of Illinois, and I think maybe across the country, we are the only general contractor that is certified across the board that is LGBTQ certified. So that's a benefit for us as a whole. Once this certification comes into play, we represent a very lucrative play for not just people that are accepting it, but for the people that we hire and we can put to work, because we don't discriminate and it's very diverse. But for me personally, the intersectionality part of it and the biggest and the strongest hold on it for me is that I represent a number of groups that are already ostracized in so many ways, you know. And we talked a bit, Timmy, about how the elephant in the room is this certification will just open up the door for white men to come in and get that piece when Black folks have been struggling for so long to get their little piece of the pie. And how do we ensure that that piece is not given away to the LGBTQ community? I come with, and I'm understand this, and I'm Black, I'm female, I'm a disadvantaged business that live and grew up in a low income area, right? And I'm LGBTQ representative. So I have a whole lot of stake in the game, but I have no dog in this game at the same time. So let's be clear that this certification is necessary for people like me, right? As a diverse individual, when I sit at the table with my Black brothers and sisters who ostracize me because I am a lesbian, then I need a stronghold for that. I need representation and I need an army for that. When I sit at the table with women, right, who are white, Black, Jewish, and all diverse nationalities, I sit at the table as a Black female, right? And I still get an ostracization inside of that, so I need an army behind me for that. And then when I sit at the table with all of those diverse people, I sit at the table and I stand alone as a lesbian in the room most times. So sometimes I'm in the room as a lesbian only, a Black woman only, right? So it's being diverse. This certification opens the door for me to be able to have the support system that I need as an individual in humanity. This is the humanity portion of it. Because if you discriminate against me as a minority, the MBE steps in with 20 million different MBE certified businesses that can still ostracize me as a lesbian, even though I'm certified minority, right? Because you can still do that. You can still do that as a woman. And when you find out that I am a lesbian, and not only am I a lesbian, I'm kind of right of center, right? So I'm kind of more in the logical space, right? And not so much the emotional space. So I'm more right of center, then you really get kickback, especially from Black men. And then Black women, you know, they clutch their breasts, not their purse. They clutch their breasts. So it's, you know, it's, I I think it's a necessary because of that, you know, because it opens up the door. And I think once the city of Chicago alderman opens that door up, it's like John said, you're gonna find out that there are so many more diverse and intersectional individuals that are out there that's going to be able to come forward without a problem, because it's already, we live in the trenches and we live in the dark a lot of times. I know a bunch of my friends that are contractors. They're certified MBE and WBE, but they haven't gotten the certification yet. But because there's no need for it, but there is a need for it.
Thank you so much, Roxanna. I actually want to ask just one follow-up question too, which, you know, we talked about a little bit on the call, and this goes to anybody, but so if the city opens up the doors, is there an argument that an LGBTBE certification from the city would create a hurdle or take away projects from minority-owned businesses? And anyone can answer on that.
Yeah, I'm more than glad to jump in on that one if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Alderman. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
panelists, you too, because I think.
Yeah, and I want to, oh my God, I just want to say how beautiful it is to actually like hear all the story and experience, because like, let's be clear, we're listening to trailblazers. Like, we're talking about people who have worked in heteronormative spaces and had to affirm their identity and really be proud and do the work that they're doing. And the work that Roxanna, Jackie, and the other folks are doing and have done opens the doors for so many that need it, right? When we think about what this is ultimately about, it is about equity, and it's across the board. So why I want to jump at the question is that's what we experienced when we were talking about simply the resolution to create a survey to get to that point. It became what we see under, and this is where I'm a little bit left of center. It's where we see a lot of what capitalism does. It forces people to think that you're operating in a place of scarcity, that if someone takes something, someone else is missing out. And then you get what, you know, from where I grew up, the crabs in the barrel mentality, that everyone's fighting for scraps rather than realizing that if people come together because there's a shared struggle, you accomplish more. And that's what's, you know, in my growth and learning, it's what's so beautiful and powerful about the LGBTQ rights movement. It's that it's multicultural, it's multiracial. So there is this shared experience that, you know, other groups aren't necessarily afforded. There's an advantage to that. You create a coalition that allows you to move things. So when we talk about government, we've seen it happen so far, or starting to move, you know, in my time in council, that like the Black Caucus and the Latino Caucus are really adamant about the fact that we give some of these businesses like tax credits or cuts because they say they're MBE, they say they're WBE, but then they don't live up to the thing that they say they're going to do. And that could lead to the same kind of mentality where the two caucuses are kind of going at each other. But the thing that we've been very clear on in even our terminology is parity. It's looking at the percentages of each population as if, you know, what they represent in the population, and make sure that the numbers in hiring look the same. Because, you know, even something that we've seen as an analogy in the cannabis business, right? The cannabis business has not moved much in Springfield because the concern is that you get people who have all the money that are typically white cis males who can go, let's check off the boxes so we can make sure we count as certified and have these advantages that social equity players should get. And I think that's why it's really important that the certification like the NGLCC provides is that thorough, because you want to make sure that there's a strength in that. So people know no one's gaming this. This is making sure that people from these communities get the representation, because, you know, we've talked about the different spectrum here. We all know Black trans women trying to get a job or be in different like fields, it's its own challenge, and we've got to make sure that it continues growing. So I think you're always going to have people that function from a scarcity mindset to say, oh, I don't know. I mean, why can't they already have, you know, MBE, they already have WBE. Why do they need to get a third? And we cannot function that way. So that is a fight that we're willing to take and want to take on. We want to make sure we hear it from the ground up, and that's why we're going to continue pushing to do it, because we're talking about all this, the ARP federal funding, right? If all this stuff was already certified nationally across the board, you could clearly make carve-outs through federal money and say, this needs to go to these businesses because this community needs that support. And that's why it's that important. So you're always gonna have people that are naysayers, but the work that you all are doing is what's important and something that has to be continued. So we're gonna get it done.
That's awesome, Alderman. Yeah, thank you. And it's great to have an advocate like you on council for these issues and more. I wanted to go to both Jackie and Vince because I think they both too have something to say on this point. So whoever, Jackie, if you want to go first, go right ahead.
That would be great. I'll turn this off so you can be here. You know, one thing that came to mind, and we talked about this in our, I'll call it our pre-job meeting. Last week we had this call with the Obama Center. And when we talk about, you know, diversity and division between, you know, everybody's piece of the pie, there's a perfect example. They want everybody at the table. What a huge asset that's going to be for Chicago diversity, you know, right at the ground floor. We had a tremendous call with them, and that they want to give everybody, you know, an opportunity there. And they really, you know, are living up to the culture. And so there's a lot of people on here that are not construction related, but when we get opportunities like that, and, you know, we do have a workforce that's from the city, a lot of people, and that was no problem for us filling that commitment, but, you know, it gives us an opportunity to pass that down, you know, to other diverse businesses. And I think that's really, I keep going back to that, but, you know, there's tier 1 people in here where, you know, we deal direct and we take the blunt of it because we've had these growing steps of, you know, first, you know, making sure we got payable customers. I also wanted to comment on that. That's what really made our business grow, was we had a bankable customer. We weren't forced to work for in 2019, we got a job because we were diverse, and they were the worst customer we ever had. They strung us out. You know, by the time we got our first payment, it was like 4 or 5 months into the job. We steered out of our wheelhouse. We traditionally stayed put in utilities, but we made an error. And diverse companies, I hear it over and over, that do a lot of state work. You know, they become the bankers for, you know, successful companies. And I don't want to pick on any names in Chicago, but they can hurt a diverse business. And that thing about key payment is huge. So when we think about something like the Obama Center, and we talked about this, that's going to be a big topic, how we get paid. You know, again, we're all getting a part of that, whether it's, you know, a minority-owned business or a woman-owned business or an LGBT business. I mean, this new project in the city is what I think the largest goal that we could ever imagine as far as a project that's diversity-driven. They're demanding 51% diversity as a prime on that, and their expectations for everybody in that business, it's not just the Obama Center, it's the Diversity Center. And I'm proud to be a part of our chamber and you know, do business in the city of Chicago. I think this is a great opportunity for our community. You know, women-owned businesses, LGBT businesses, and everybody. So I think we're very blessed, and I didn't want that getting away from us today, how valuable that Obama Center is going to be and what it really brings to the city of Chicago and our communities.
Absolutely, Jackie. And I'll kind of chime in on that too. I think all the panelists today and Alderman Vasquez, you've attested to, again, this advocacy work that we're continuing to want to do here in Chicago, just as an organization that focuses on, you know, equity, if you will, across all different levels. Of the 1,000 or so minority certified businesses that we have, 70% of them are professional services businesses. The remaining 30 are within the construction business. And so Roxanna can attest to, again, this outreach, this intentional outreach that we're doing. A few months ago, we had an opportunity to have the first annual Chicago Developers Conference, where we had Sterling Bay, as well as the Obama President Center. We had some other developers, about $700 billion in the next new opportunities that are down the horizon. And I think John attested to this too. Really what we're hoping for are actual contracts. We're tired of the rhetoric. We don't want the talk. We want to see these MBEs, WBEs, NGLCCs all receive the actual measurable contracts. Let's stop talking about it and let's actually see the work that's being done. I love that these commitment levels are going higher, meaning like the Presidential Center is demanding 51%. I think there's some other projects that are going around the city also that are putting a minimum spend of being a lot higher. But that's going to be a great way for us to, again, control and change this narrative. And that's the work that we're trying to do. And that's what I love about being able to participate in these type of roundtable discussions, because we have to know where we're each at so that we can see where we have this support network and this ecosystem so that we can strengthen our numbers and then make this grow together. That's what we all want to do here. To sustain, we want to see if there's ways for us to grow, and for us that are intentionally, everyone that's on this call, intentionally looking to support, we want to know what resources we have and that we can go to that we know is going to be available for us, and it's not just going to push us out. I also love that some of those that participated today again shared that this certification is kind of a differentiator for you. Again, when you go in to bid for these jobs or do an RFQ or an RFP or anything there, you're really walking I have the capacity, I have the capabilities. I've done with it in the finished product on time, within budget, or in cases under budget. What we really want, again, as entrepreneurs and as small business owners, is can you work with us to, I can't do a 120-day payout. Can you do a 30-day payout? Remember, I've got employees that I have that, again, are from the community, probably within the communities that this project is being built in. That speaks volumes to anyone and everyone. And that's how we start creating and making this change, but then showcasing the change, which I think is what the call earlier, what Colette Houghton disparity study that she's doing is really going to showcase for us. These actionable items that we can do, showcase the work that we're doing, the advocacy working, and ultimately that connection there. That's where we're all going to end up making this work.
Absolutely. And I mean, everyone, we could do this session for a few hours. We don't have that long, but Jeremy has given a few extra minutes. So I want to open up to any questions from those of you participating in the roundtable today. So feel free to really just unmute yourselves, turn on your cameras, and go ahead and ask.
So,
and if there are,
so if
yeah,
we're waiting
ahead,
for people to decide, let me just say something that's on my heart real quick. And it won't take long, Jeremy, because you know, Jeremy do me the same way. Let me say this is honest though, this is what came up for me, Vince, when you were talking and when the aldermen were talking and Jackie and John. The thing that's wonderful about the opportunity in the NGL certification is that it will not take away from the minority certification, nor will it take away from the WBE or any other disadvantaged business. What it does is it adds an added benefit to the opportunities for all of those certified businesses, because we have to remember that even though you're certified in minority business, you're still obligated to share the wealth, right? You're still supposed to come in and hire another disadvantaged business to help grow it as well. So if you're a first tier business and you're certified WBE MBE, DBE, or whatever, you can hire a company like me that's new, that's new in the business arena and say, hey, come on in. You're an NGLCC business. We have our minority satisfied. We have a WBE satisfied, but let's take you and bring you in for this portion. So we're not taking anything away from anybody. There is enough for everybody. The universe creates sufficient amount for every, as Jackie say, human being. This is not to take anything away from anybody, but it affords us all the opportunity to work together, to stop talking about D&I and be D&I. And we do that by working together. I don't want your job. I want my own job. I don't want your money. I want my own money. I don't want your woman. I want my own woman, right? Because your job and your money and your woman is your headache. I got my own headache. So let's share it now. Listen to yours, but I don't want yours. So it's you know, this is an opportunity. It's not a takeaway. It's a plus. And you got to have a negative and a positive to make it work. So let's just make it work together, you know, by doing it together. That's my 2 cents.
I have something to add.
The rainbow here, you know.
I have something to add to Roxanna's statement. You know, in the areas, in these states and the counties and these cities where LGBT certification is already recognized, that the percentages for MBEs and WBEs were increased upward to just allow for LGBT participation. So if anything, or the only crowd that ought to be complaining about diversity and inclusion would be the non-diverse companies, because at this rate, they're going to lose less and less and less, more and more and more as we go forward. So, you know, and the LGBT community, it never seeks to take anything away from anybody. Simply because our certification is inclusive of everyone. I mean, the only requirement to be an LGBT certified business is that you be LGBT. That's the only requirement. That's it.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you, John. And I know, Jeremy, I know we've got this on camera, so just get ready. I'm going to ask that we condense this portion and that we all then feel free to send it out to different stakeholders and other leaders that we know that might have a say in this going forward. I want to give the opportunity just to each panelist to close out with anything that I may be missed in the next 5 or so minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Jackie. I know we didn't cover everything.
I know. I guess in closing, you know, it goes back and just try to uplift each other. There, like it's been said, the more we do this and pay it forward, whether it's in, you know, you buy diverse, we hire diverse. That's how we're really going to be successful. And when they talk about dividing this, you know, the pressure's on because they're holding, you know, these primes accountable today, where, you know, in the years past, you know, the struggle to get to that table, you know, just to see the plates was huge, but they found the loopholes. Today they've closing the loopholes. And there's accountability in this. That's why you're seeing the increase in diversity, because they're driving for accountability. And they're driving for accountability is because we, the NGLCC people, we bank, you know, the minority councils, we are speaking up and we're holding those people accountable. And there's going to be work for everybody. I firmly believe that because of accountability today. You know, all we want is dignity and respect and a fair playing field. That's what diversity is all about. 2 simple words, dignity and respect, and for everyone.
Absolutely. Great, Jackie. And I'd like to close out with just saying, you know, it's great to participate in panels like this, and of course, continue with the support for, you know, again, all certifications and all of the business community, if you will, for what it is that we're seeking to do. And that's really just, again, the Chicago MSDC is looking to be that diversity partner, if you will. It's strength in numbers. I've got a national network that we can utilize to, again, provide data, information on what disparity looks like, what marginalized communities look like, but I can't do that alone. And this is where we want to reach out to our partner organizations and understand exactly what's happening within the entire business ecosystem so that we know that we're doing it right. This is the only way that we're going to be able to change things and also connect with our elected officials so that we can kind of, you know, help them provide the right information to advocate for us for too, so we can keep along. So I thank you guys for allowing us to be in on this. It's a phenomenal opportunity. I've learned a lot. I've hoped that you guys learned a lot more too about Chicago MSDC and even how we can help. But thank you, Roxanna, and thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Timmy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jeremy, for again, this opportunity.
Yeah, and thank you, Vince. I mean, the Alderman said it perfectly earlier that this panel was full of you all being trailblazers. So, I mean, thank you to Roxanna, Jackie, Vince, and John for sharing your stories today. I really do think it was impactful. So I do want to make sure we can spread this panel because we addressed a lot of things that I think are on people's minds. I also want to close out just by thanking Jeremy Holston because he always works hard. He works hard year-round, 24/7. But this roundtable was like an especially like public demonstration of that. And Jeremy is just such a good advocate for the community. So with that, thanks so much, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for that. Again, everyone, all these people are easy to get in contact with. You can reach out to us. We can connect you with them. Definitely be sure to reach out to Vince and the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council if you are interested in more information about their resources, their training, accessing their certification, and all the many corporate partners that they have. Huge shout out to John, Roxanna, and Jackie for coming to share their personal insights, their stories, their experiences to really help to make this an impactful conversation. We will definitely figure out some sort of way to wrap and package this all up and make sure that other folks have the opportunity to hear this message. And thank you for Timmy for joining to lead your very first conversation with us at this year's roundtable. And we know that you'll be doing more down the road as well. So thank you all so much for this and for attending this session.